I think we need to start thinking about it ahead of time. And there's a lot of companies who are advocating that because for creators, like creators need to get paid for their creations. And whether that's art or quotes or, video, there needs to be some sort of compensation. And I think that would have made it not only go viral, but I think go viral with a really positive twist had they executed that from the very beginning.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the AI Download, the show where we cut through the chaos and decode what's really going on in AI, from breakthroughs that are changing the game to how this tech is reshaping our work, lives, and everything in between. I'm Shira Lazar. I'm your host. I'm the founder of What's Trending, and I've been reporting on digital culture and emerging tech since Napster. I wish I had some applause or sound effect there. We've come a long way. Yes, we have. And this podcast is here to help you stay sharp, informed, and way ahead of the curve. And as always, I've got my producer, Nadia G, here helping me out. Nadia, you did not step in there to save me after Napster. I was very disappointed.
I was laughing. I was laughing.
I didn't hear.
I went,
Oh, so
well,
to be
I didn't
fair,
want to be too loud to jump on your audio, see?
yeah, no, that's true. To be fair, I'm going to share some transparency. In the past, I would say the past 2 decades, and Nadia was the one who said we should, have a little Easter egg every show and say since whatever, and Napster was decided on today, 1, because it's old, and we've been around too, but also it got bought last week, and it's wild for, what, over 100 million or something, 200 million. Anyway, a lot of money, people were surprised, so shout out to Napster. You've done good.
Congrats, man.
Yep. And also a quick shout out to our sponsor, Hivelighter, your AI powered reading assistant that serves up smart, personalized insights so you can spend less time scrolling and more time doing. Of course, links to that in the description, wherever you are, or the show notes. And coming up on today's show, we got a little tease. Something broke ChatGPT. And no, it wasn't our Kardashian. A major brand is cloning people. Students might be getting less smart, and tech giants want to coach your health and maybe even preserve your legacy forever. Oh, and one story got me dragged, let me tell you, so hard, I had to delete my post. But first, I'm so excited to be joined by someone who's been leading in both tech and innovation for decades. She's the COO of Unstoppable Domains, a top keynote speaker, and the author of AI First, Human Always, a timely guide to thriving in the age of superintelligence. Sandy Carter is here. Welcome to the AI Download.
Woohoo. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm so excited to talk about my new book as well. Thank you for
I
having
know. I know you're always doing some amazing things and really leading the way. So I'm stoked to have you on the show. Now, before we get into your book, let's get into some AI headlines for this week. Are you ready?
We are ready.
Okay. So we got to start with ChatGPT and Studio Ghibli, the inspired AI images that crashed ChatGPT basically. So what went down is that ChatGPT, its image generator, got a major update this week. And this actually was overshadowed by the headlines about Studio Ghibli. So it's a super sophisticated, super powerful, and game changer update for creators and marketers alike. But as I mentioned, what stole the spotlight, people using it to create Studio Ghibli style images. And it was so popular that reports say that the GPUs were melting. It basically pushed the system to its limit. And what's wild is the founder of Studio Ghibli has been very anti AI. In 2016, he called it soulless and a disrespectful shortcut. So the whole thing is very ironic. It's creating a lot of controversy. And now OpenAI has updated its content policy that you cannot make these Studio Ghibli style AI images. I'm sorry if you wanted to, although there's a lot of, if you Google, a lot of articles talking about how you could do it on other platforms. Now, Sandy, I saw you made one. Did you feel bad at all? Because I posted one telling people how to do it, like a whole tutorial. And I got flamed in the comments and decided to take it down out of respect also. But what is your take?
Yeah, I actually ended up writing a Forbes article, Shira, about it and
Yeah.
about, was it an AI heist? I'm sorry, art heist, or was it a fun with AI exercise. But as I started digging into it, a single Ghibli film takes 50,000 hours to make. An AI image takes 7 seconds and gets 7,000 likes. And so my article was about, is this fair? Is this stealing? And how could we have done it better to where maybe the Studio Ghibli got some of the revenue back because they're the ones who created the style. I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's true, but some folks at OpenAI said that that Forbes article got circulated, and then today, of course, they took it down as you just, spoke about. So I'm hoping that that provided some thought-provoking ideas around creators, what they deserve, copyright rules, all of that, which I think is so important as we delve into AI.
I also think it's fun to sometimes let AI do its own thing. GPT 4.0 is so fantastic that you can, ask it to take a portrait of yourself and just run with it creatively. I mean, look at this. Look at what it created for me.
Are
Right
you
here.
showing something? I need a if you're watching an audio.
I can
Oh,
see
that is very cute. It's Nadia with a pigeon. She likes doing the pigeon sound.
Yeah, Nadia with a pigeon, and I'll send an image. Maybe we can pop it in. But I think sometimes, we give AI too many constraints, like, oh, do this in this exact style, or, you can just let it do its own thing and let it surprise you.
Yeah, here's the thing, this whole thing, which is what we already knew about this, it brought up a lot around AI, ethics, ownership, all these very uncomfortable subject matters that, unfortunately, we're only going to learn as we go. The hope was that some of the earlier systems like OpenAI would have done all these licensing agreements and deals and foresaw this coming. The fact is they didn't, and they're needing to catch up, right? And I actually also, speaking of, we're plugging our, you plugged your article. I did this in my newsletter. I wrote about this week and you could check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes as well. But is it possible for AI to be ethical? Right. And who's doing it? There are companies that are doing it that now that we're learning the tough lessons from all of these others that are starting from scratch and doing these licensing deals, Adobe's one of them, a bigger company, thankfully. But who would have thought that people would start doing these Studio Ghibli type things and it would go viral? And the question is, if it went viral, would have been it have been even brought up? So it's not if things are going to break or mistakes will happen. It's what we do when it happens, right? Sandy, I mean, what do you
right.
think?
Yeah, and it also I mean, the first question is, why didn't they think about that before they released it?
Yeah.
Because they could have done some sort of, either call out to Studio Ghibli, or they could have done some sort of royalty ahead of time. And then after the fact that it did go viral, they still waited and they still made statements in the meantime before they decided to take it down. So I do think,
Yeah.
right? Did you see
Well,
that?
Sam Altman actually made his own avatar on social, supposedly, I read this, like one of the images. So
Yeah, he did.
clearly they they were playing around with this before obviously they were starting to get heat and realizing, "Oh, we might be in trouble and we're getting called out." Yeah, that's the issue. A lot of these companies only change things if they get called out.
Right, and that's the problem. I think we need to start thinking about it ahead of time, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of companies who are advocating that because for creators, like, I mean, you've been working with creators since Napster, and I mean, creators need to get paid for their creations, and whether that's art or quotes or, video, there needs to be some sort of compensation, and I think that would have made it not only go viral, but I think go viral with a really positive twist had they executed that from the very beginning.
Similar
Definitely.
to samples, right? Like if you want to
Yep.
use a sample of a song, you've got to pay some type of royalty. So I think creating a similar system, everything's so new with AI that these systems are just not in place yet.
We're in that uncomfortable, icky moment, unfortunately, that I think is either going to lead people to looking at that as an opportunity or turning away. And that's the difficult thing. So, again, this show encourages you to lean in to finding the solutions and to creating more conversation. Because if you turn away, you're going to be missing out. And then the same people are going to get part of this and become a part of it. So I want to encourage us to lean into the icky, right? And to have the uncomfortable conversations.
I will
Let's move
also
on.
say oops, I was
What?
just make one more quick comment.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is not just OpenAI. I know a lot of times OpenAI is made to be look like the villain.
Yeah.
I was talking to Anne Hanley this weekend. I actually included a quote from her in my article. She said that she's written 11 books, and she determined that Meta in their OpenAI model, also scan all 11 of her books that are all copyrighted. So all of her hints and tricks and secrets are now there in the Meta open, in Lambda. So they can be used and leveraged. And again, her question was, surely they knew this was happening, and why didn't they offer compensation for it? Because had they done that, even if it was a small bit of compensation, it would have made things better. So it's not just one company, it's a lot of companies that are doing
Yep.
this all at the same
Yeah,
time.
thank you for mentioning that. That's important. She should sue them. Why not? They should pay for that.
Yep.
Other people have started doing it. It's harder maybe as an individual, but maybe a bunch of individuals come together, class action lawsuit. I don't know. Just saying, we need to start calling these companies forth and doing something about it. And a lot of times they won't, right? They're not going to do anything until we say something. So again, if you're a company doing this, don't just wait for people to cancel you and call you out. Do the right thing or try to at least take the steps. This company, let's move on to our next headline. According to CNN, H&M is creating digital clones of its models, which sounds kind of possibly creepy and like it could be predatory, but it does have a twist. They okay. So let me say that. So they plan to create 30 digital twins of their models this year. They say though the avatars, and this is where the twist happens that seems very empowering. The avatars will be owned by the models themselves, who can then work with any brand and get paid just like they would for a real campaign. So this is clearly, a very pioneering for the fashion industry. It raises big questions about jobs, rights, the role of AI in creative industries. Is this a good thing? Is H&M doing it right?
I think it's a fantastic idea, Shira. Like people ask me all the time, Nadia, would you ever do TV again? Would you ever do Bitchin' Kitchen again? And the answer is a resounding absolutely not. But I'd let my AI avatar do that show again, you know? So I
Yep.
can write the script, sit back, and the avatar can wear the Spanx.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to keep up the Botox, the hair dye, all those things. I'm speaking
It's
for myself,
amazing. And I think it all comes down to agency. It's like if you want to
Yeah.
have an AI avatar, awesome. If you don't want to have one, then you have every right to not include yourself in that program. The thing is, there's always fine print. So in media, you often sign away all your rights in perpetuity across the universe in existing media and media that hasn't come out yet. And so that's where it starts to get problematic because it's like, okay, I signed up for this modeling campaign, but now did I also sign up for them to create an AI avatar of me and use that? Like I
Yep.
think it's actually cool that H&M is letting the models own their avatar and being
Yeah.
upfront about it, but one does have to be careful to read those contracts very closely.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, the thing that I really love about it is that they're letting the models pick and then do a digital twin. And you guys know digital twinning is using obviously AI to make a replica, a digital replica of yourself. And that's what they're doing is having this be a replica of yourself. I think it's cool that they're allowing the models to do that, that they're actually paying the model. So unlike our last example where that is not happening, but I agree with Nadia. I mean, you have to also now look at, okay, so if I've got my digital twin out there, first of all, how do I keep up with what she's doing? Let me give you an example of that. I know that a friend of mine who is at a big company tried to create a digital twin of herself. She went on vacation and she had her digital twin take some meetings for her. She came back. I think it's so cool. She came
Yeah.
back, and then people were stopping her in the hall and saying, "Hey, do you remember we talked about this last week?" And she was like, "Eesh, I don't." And so now she has to have her digital twin do a download of what they learned that week that she wasn't in the meeting for, so that she can catch up. And so I think the same principles will apply here. How are they gonna inform the model what she's modeled in? Who gets to make the choice? Like, you can make some bad choices about what you choose to model in, which brands you represent that may be different than you if you don't have control of it. So those T's and C's, I think,
Yeah.
just like Nadia said, will be super important to see.
Yeah, and so that's where I think education from the talent perspective and then from the representation perspective is going to be very important. Their ability to look at these nouveau contracts and say, I want approval of however I'm used, right? Plus, if you're going to use me outside of this in another brand, I approve it too. And I do think there are companies starting to do this, and we'll feature them and probably try to get them as guests on the show. But where they are literally acting as influencer marketing agencies for your digital twin, your AI, if you're a creator, influencer, model, etc. And just like if you might not realize this if you're listening or watching, like there will be a back end where they might share brands that want to work with you and you submit. It'll be a same thing, but for your digital twin and you approve it, right? And so for me, I think this is cool as long as, again, people don't take advantage of it because there's only so much I could do as Shira, and it's a way for more passive income if I could get, my virtual self to do it. Like I'm down. The one flag, and I'll say this that does worry me, and it kind of connects to 23andMe, and let me explain. As we know, 23andMe went bankrupt, right? And now they're saying, "Oh, whatever company bought them can have the data." You don't know the company. Would you trust this other company, right? And so my worry is that some of these contracts you do with one company, these are such new companies, say they get acquired or they go bankrupt, who knows? Like really making sure that the owners maintain those contracts and don't take that, whatever data or because when I was about to sign a contract to create my own digital twin recently, they said, "Well, you own the digital twin, like, you own the consent of it, but we own the tech," which I get, but also scared me because it means, like, well, is there ever gonna be a time where the consent part what if I'm not around or able to consent? Like, is there a workaround? You still own me and the tech. So, I don't know, it brings up a lot of issues that we haven't figured out yet, but it's interesting. There's
It is.
something there.
I do love the fact that,
Yeah.
H&M, that was doing a lot in the AI space,
Yeah.
not just with the AI models, but they've done hyper personalized shopping experiences. They've used AI to optimize their inventory. So they are really taking a leadership position. I think they're really AI first and they're just trying out things. And I really do love that. I think leaders experiment and try things out. So, hats off to H&M for this one for sure.
Yeah, whoever's, leading that, someone's in the AI department or
Yep.
innovation department doing some cool stuff or their CMO.
Yep.
Well, next headline. What? What? Oh, man?
I I actually am caught up in the 23andMe thing. They have my
Don't get too deep.
DNA.
I brought that up as
Yes.
a
No,
reference,
no, no.
not to go
They
down a
have my
rabbit hole.
DNA and I lost my login, so
Wait,
I
you
can't even
actually did
log in and say don't use my DNA, and I'm too lazy to deal with customer support. So I'm just like, you know what, Nads? If there's a bunch of clones of you in the future walking around, that'll just be your legacy.
exactly. I mean, look, that's glass half full attitude with, data sharing. Next headline from Axios. Teachers say AI is hurting critical thinking. Educators are warning that generative AI tools might be harming students' ability to think critically. A new study by Carnegie Mellon and Microsoft found that when used improperly, AI can lead to a decline in independent problem solving and cognitive engagement. Surprise, surprise. Quote, this is from the study: AI can improve efficiency, but it may also reduce critical engagement, raising concerns about long term reliance. So,
I don't know. I think
not surprising what?
I think lazy students have existed since we've been scratching away on clay tablets. Okay. And like AI has brought on this new world where you can like actually free up your time to think about bigger picture ideas. So if you're the type of person that's like using AI to cheat or using AI to ideate, then that's on you just being a twit.
I mean, Sandy, do you think if you grew up with AI, it would have made you smarter or dumb? I feel like that's a bad question for you, actually, because I think you're just smart. But are you worried about the next generation or even us? To be honest, there's already some peers that are people that are our age, I would say, that might not be fully there right now.
I do worry about this a little bit. I will say I have 2 daughters.
Mhm.
And, I asked my daughter a question the other day and she took out her phone and I'm like, who are you texting? She goes, oh no, I'm asking ChatGPT about an answer to your question. I was like, what? No, 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 sweetheart. I want you to answer me. I want you to tell me what you like. I want you to tell me, your critique of the movie we just saw. I don't want you to give me ChatGPT's answer for the critique. And she's a super bright young lady. And she goes, oh, I just don't want to think right now. And so I do love that her school, they have classes where they can use ChatGPT. And then they
Mhm.
have, it's like, how we used to say pencils down or no
Yep.
calculators for this math test, right? And you had to do it on your own in your head. They now have no GPT, no Claude, no Perplexity for this particular portion. I do think that's going to be really important so we don't lose the ability
Yep.
to do that. I still test myself in math because I don't wanna be so reliant on a phone to remember numbers for me or a calculator to do math for me because I do wanna keep that going. So that's my
You're smart.
opinion.
Yeah.
I think they should have kind of both sections.
I agree. And we had Dr. Chris Mattman, who you might know Chris, right? I feel
I
like,
don't.
he's in our circles. We had him on. He is now the head of AI at UCLA, and he did talk about how they're looking at this. And I do think it's going to force us to shift education. Again, you need to do presentations, making sure you understand the information versus an essay necessarily, or I mean, a test. If you do a test, making sure you don't have access to those tools to make sure you've retained it, you understand it. And of course, there's a difference. Like I was really good at memorizing when I was younger, and I think it would have been better for it to be not just memorization, but actually understanding the information, right? And sometimes that um, there's an issue with how we teach, that it's more about memorization than understanding. So I think we're going to see that change as we go. And even for ourselves, like as we get older, like it's about kids and how they learn in their brains, and we know what social media has been doing to them, let alone the access to the answers with AI. But even all of us, like if we don't keep on not testing ourselves but challenging our brain, it's going to
Uh-huh.
create dementia, Alzheimer's, all these things more quickly. We don't continue learning things, right? And finding an ease of doing everything.
So what's interesting about AI is that it fundamentally changes how you can question things. Like for example, I don't know how to code Python personally, but I do through AI. So instead of wasting time learning how to
Yeah.
write Python, I can think about bigger systems and let AI do that work. And so the way that trickles down in education is that we have to start compelling the youth to have bigger questions and not bore them with kind of the simplistic stuff that AI or a calculator can do for you. Like what's exciting is not 7 plus 7. What's exciting is what you can do with math when it comes to physics. And so we're in a bit of a different space where we have to kind of revolutionize our education system because it's not the same like it used to be.
And that's a great lead in because I wanted to tell you about a school here in Arizona, which is where I'm living right now. And what they've started doing is really cool. So they have personalized education driven by AI for 3 hours a day in the school. So a lot of the kids are super motivated because if their age says they're in 3rd grade, they may actually be in 5th grade. And so with the personalized training, they can go to 5th grade. They don't have to stay at 3rd grade. But then the second 3 hours, they're taught how to manage your finances, how to speak, EQ, and I mean, those are a lot of things that the generation today is missing on. And so I love that combination where you are doing critical thinking, you are doing some really cool things, but then you're using it to up your education faster. Super
Wow,
cool. I'm anxious
that's
to see how the
impressive.
yeah, I'm anxious to see how the results turn out for that class.
Yeah. And there's a difference between having, AI help customize the classes and depending on the student's level. I think that's cool. But then having access to it just to answer things for you, right? Those are two different things. And then
Yeah,
I also
great.
hope that in using these tools, they're also connecting with each other because we know this next generation can barely, pick up a phone or talk to someone sometimes. It's not an umbrella thing, like not everyone,
And
but it is
that's
an
one of the
issue.
classes is how to connect with people, which I
That's
thought was
amazing.
it's
I
super
need that
cool.
class.
Yeah, like, how do
I
you
mean,
form a
that's
relationship?
real.
Like, how do you do that? Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny, I have to tell you this. So my
Yeah,
daughters, they grew up in the texting, typing class, and so
yeah.
one of my daughters wrote an Alexa skill, so she doesn't have to ask Alexa with her voice, she can just type Alexa. That's how bad it is, like, they don't wanna speak, they wanna text it to you. Yeah.
And it's
So
also
this is how
smart. She seems to like be figure out ways to hack the
Yeah.
system. I mean, that's a skill.
Yeah, it is. I
She'll
think
be an
so.
entrepreneur or something, find, it's like work smarter, not harder, all
Yeah.
that. I like it.
Yep.
Next headline, Apple's AI health coach is coming. According to TechCrunch and Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, Apple is working on a new AI powered health app update that includes a wellness coach. It could offer personalized guidance on your health goals based on your data. And it's expected as soon as spring or summer 2026 alongside iOS 19.4. So, are you going to use their health coach, Sandy?
I am definitely gonna use their health coach. I think that sounds pretty amazing. I will, though, check out how they're gonna use my data, what they're gonna do with my
Yes.
data, how that's processed. I will definitely check that out. But I think they're already getting a lot of my data. This weekend, my husband and I had to go to we're living in Arizona. We were going to a Texas party. We were talking about Stetson hats and Roper boots. And as soon as we walked in the door of our house, we had advertisements out the wazoo for Stetson hats and Roper boots. So I think they're already listening to us. But I like that. I know I just read about the Stanford study that says that doctors are much more effective if they couple their treatment with AI, but that doctors are resistant because they feel like they don't understand where the answers are coming from. And so I
Oh,
feel
well.
like having an AI coach that then I could take some of the material to my doctor would be a great combination.
I love dealing with AI. I think AI is super patient. I think AI has the capability to really look through test results and, really kind of pinpoint what exactly is going on with your health more so than a human being. Human beings, they have their own issues. They're distracted. They could be hungover. They can be just, in it for just the money. Let's face it, not every doctor is super attentive. There's a lot of issues in the medical industry. So I think having AI, which has unlimited patience and super intelligence, is a fantastic way to head in terms of healthcare.
The thing that I'm scared of is having it remind me of how many times, like, "Oh, you haven't got up from your laptop." I mean, it's such a good reminder, but imagine at a certain point, you're like, "Oh my god." But maybe that's like a reminder that you need to change your lifestyle, or you've not raised your heart rate all day. Like, you need to go out. Like, if the AI wellness coach was very specific with what I needed to do, would be helpful. Because just telling me I need to work out right now, not helpful. I know I need to work out, right? Being like, "Well, maybe do 100 jumping jacks." That would be enough. I'd be like, "Okay, be specific."
And
So,
schedule it in. Wouldn't you love that?
yes, and then being like, I see, oh, yeah, it's connected to your
Right?
schedule. I see on your
Yeah,
calendar, you have this." But then
yeah.
what's gonna happen is you're gonna start, and this is I could see this happening, lying to your AI. Like, I'm gonna just start plugging in places in my calendar. Oh, I don't have any time, you know? Like, you're a bit sociopathic if you start lying to your AI.
Yeah. It's true.
Like, there's issues, right?
Or if you really wanna get in shape, have
Yeah.
it related to your compute. So you're only allowed to use the AI if you've done the 100 jumping jacks. You
Oh, that would
you
be
know what I
also
mean?
evil. Well, no, I mean, there's definitely things like that where, if you tell your phone, "Okay, I want it off at a certain time," if you're doom scrolling and you get locked out. But then, like, the question is, oh, what if you need to actually go on? What if it's outside that specific circumstance? This is a bit of a digression, and we're gonna go to the next headline, but I was looking at fun, gifts for the holidays, and I thought, the cell phone boxes would be cute, like a jail box for your cell, right? Your cell phone. Right? Like, isn't
Yeah,
that a fun,
then you don't
gift?
use your cell phone, right?
Well, yeah, people would come into your house or if you're kids but
Yep.
then there was one, I was looking at on Amazon and they're like, "I used this and I couldn't open it. It would not open for me to get it again." And I was like, "Okay, this
Could be
could
traumatic.
create more stress than than be helpful." But I think this is good and it's interesting, that they're doing this, and I'll try it out.
I will say
Finally.
I went to a dinner party this weekend, and,
Yeah.
when we came in the door,
Mhm.
um, my friend had a pillowcase, and
Yeah.
literally she asked us to put our cell phones inside the pillowcase
Okay.
for dinner only, and we did, and it was so fun, like, I wasn't sitting there, like, just casually looking at it. If you had a watch, you have to take your watch off, and it made it a lot more fun. It really did,
I'm
without having your
sure.
cell phone right beside you.
I love that. I think it's a good thing to do. I mean, I try to put my phone down even or in my purse when I'm out now because yeah, in the past I used to just keep it with me looking up and then you're always staring at it
Yeah.
because it is like this dopamine addiction. So you got to know what your brain does to you and how to help it. So this is all good stuff. This is the good part of AI.
Yep.
Our final headline today comes from Business Insider. An AI startup helps a man create a digital version of his 91-year-old mom. This one is both heartwarming and a bit eerie. A journalist used a startup called Aternos to build an AI version of his 92-year-old mother. So, would you want to do this for someone you love or for yourself before you die? Sandy?
I would. I have to say, one of my best friends, her mom recently passed away, and I was trying to console her. And even like 3 months later, she said to me, I wish I could remember exactly what my mom said here, or why didn't I take more video, or why didn't I have another picture of her and I that I could look at? And so she really regretted not having those memories like right with her. She also wanted her daughter to have some connection to her grandmother too, right? Like
Yeah.
my grandmother died before my kids, and I always talk about her. My daughters are like, "I wish I met her. I wish I knew her. She sounds really cool." So
Yeah.
I like the idea. I think it's a really interesting one, especially if your grandmother or grandfather agree to having that element to keep alive with them.
I feel like Nadia might have another take. I don't know.
I definitely wanna do it for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wanna do it for myself. I think it's fascinating to, try and have a digital legacy,
Hmm.
and, it's so cool that there's a company called Eternos, like, just we are really living in the future. This is wild.
Right. Yeah, I mean, before my grandparents passed, I actually captured them on video giving me their entire life story.
Oh, wow. That's a
Yeah,
good
someone
idea.
really inspired me to do that, and I regretted not doing that for my dad's parents, and I did it for my mom's, parents. So that I was so grateful for that, and getting it before, things started going downhill because they were still there to share, and it is amazing. And so, one, I highly recommend if you have someone in your life that you wanna capture, now is the time, right? And although for my parents, I feel like if I wanted to capture them even now, even though they're not even that old, I feel like it'd be like, "Why now? What are you saying, Shira? Why you wanna start?" But, I do love this. I think that we're really gonna maintain legacies in this way as long as it's consensual, obviously. And then imagine someone a relative isn't around anymore, but generations later, you get to say, you want to meet that person from this time, what they were like, or you had a great aunt, they were in media, want to talk to them and hear what media was like then. Like, also think that is so cool. And so I really like this. And I actually do want to try to get the founder of Aternos on. I saw that we were connected on LinkedIn, so we'll figure that
Oh,
out.
nice. Yeah, I just read this article that said most people can't go back more than 2 generations and name an
Wow.
exact name of their great-grandmother. And I was like, "Oh, I can do that." And I was like, "Wait a second. I don't know if I can." And this would be really neat. Like I have done some of the research. I found out that my great-great-great-grandmother was actually an Indian, and I have a picture of her in front of a teepee. I would love to talk to her about what it was like to live. Now, of course, we couldn't get it because it didn't exist back then, but I think it'd be really fascinating to have this. But think about that. Can you guys name 3 back great-great-grandmother?
I'm adopted, so I can't name anything. Yes, nothing.
I feel like if my mom listens to this, she's gonna be like, "How do you forget your great grandmother's name?" Like Net. Oh, all right. I just know she like loved music. I'm blanking on her name. Also, oh, this is not good.
It's not good, right?
Well,
Yeah. This
it
could
isn't good, but you know what? Do you see those viral videos on Instagram or maybe if you're on TikTok of people putting on the headsets to reconnect with their either a daughter or, a child they lost, or even at someone at their wedding and they connect with their parents? Oh my God, that stuff makes me cry.
I agree.
Anyway,
Oh,
well,
it's heart-touching.
those were your AI headlines for the week. Hope you learned something. Of course, we're not just here to talk about the creepy things, but also the heartwarming things too. Again, Sandy Carter is joining us today, an incredible exec who's always on the cutting edge and who has a new book out. So let's get into it. What inspired you to write AI First Human Always? Was there like a moment that made you go, okay, we need to talk about this right now? Because AI is hot now. I mean, I think you had to write the book probably a year or two ago, which
Yeah,
AI was hot
it's
then
true.
too.
Yeah, I mean, it was fascinating because I got asked to go and do a presentation, and I picked AI First, Human Always as the topic. And, it turned out we were at a big conference, and it turned out that, like, 90% of the conference came to my talk. And the reason I found out later was because I said AI first, human always, was because I bridged the 2 together, and people were really afraid, just like they are today, that AI is gonna take my place, and there's no role for me anymore. And so I did this presentation, and after the presentation, um, a woman from Wiley, who is my publisher, came up to me and said, "I want you to write that book. I want you to write the book. Did you see the reaction? Nobody left the room. People were enthralled and engaged. You need to get that book down." So that's what I did. I decided that's a good idea. I think I'm going to write the book. And so I did.
I love that. I would love a publisher to come up to me after
I
a
know.
speaking
I've never.
engagement and be like, "Hey, book deal." No, but that really shows how relevant this is. So, I guess with that, what is the framework for this approach?
Yeah. So what I decided to do is to highlight places where jobs would be replaced. So, not ignore the fact that there will be jobs replaced with AI, but to address the new jobs coming in. And then all these jobs in the middle, most of the jobs are just going to be enhanced with AI. And so, I really want to emphasize the fact that there will be roles. So, you need to figure out if your role is one of them. So, being honest and direct, look at all the new roles that are out there, and but then look at how you can actually select your next role and upgrade it with AI. So, for example, I highlight companies like Bank of America. One of my actually my very first customer was Bank of America, and how they have posted. They've done this exercise to post all these jobs that they think will be coming in the next year, year and a half, and they posted them, talked about the requirements so people in the company can go ahead and get ready for those roles, which I thought was super cool. Another company called Safety Culture, one of the things that they did is they were looking at how do we upskill the entire workforce? So they actually built a personalized AI trainer, kind of like what I talked about with the school here in Arizona. so that they could upskill people. But the way they were upskilling again was, what's your future role? Like, is it your role you have today that's augmented with AI? Or is it a completely new role? And let's figure out how you can get those experiences and those skills to upgrade that particular area of your role. So I really try to emphasize both pieces, not being naive and saying, oh, no, no jobs are going away, because we know that's not true. I did encourage everybody to read the World Economic Forum report. I don't know if you've seen it. It's
Oh, tell me.
292 pages, but it's awesome. They talk about 92 million jobs that will be created, 70 million jobs that will go away. They spend most of the time on the 1.1 billion jobs in the center that will add AI to what they're doing today. And the report is really good. It's long, so if you want to feed it into Claude or ChatGPT, do so. But it's really worth the read and understanding how they see the world revolving as well.
I think that's really interesting because one, you're showing companies that are doing the right thing, which is an example for other companies, and also showing these stats, which show the overall big picture, a bit of the bird's eye view, saying of like what will be created versus what's lost, which I think is really important right now. Like people need to see the real data versus just the headline. But then I guess with that, I guess what advice do you have for companies right now in terms of how they approach AI, but then also approach the people that they're working with? Because I feel like we can't forget that we're still dealing with humans and people that are scared. You know what I mean? Like as a company, I think it's going to be really interesting as a CEO and leader to be managing between some of these disruptive forces and the fact that you still have a human workforce.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. One, I had a lot of people come up to me and say, you give all these great company examples
Yeah.
of how they're helping their employees, but not all companies are like that. So I do have a chapter in the book about your responsibility, right? You can't just say, oh, my company has to do that. I have to get training. And one of the things I encourage in the book is what I call play storm, not brainstorm. Brainstorm is, you're going to listen to the podcast. You're going to go to a conference and listen to something, or you're just going to read a book. I don't think that gets you where you need to go in AI. I think you got to get in there, create an AI agent. You got to get in there, try out some of these tools, see what the possibilities are so that you understand what you're talking about. You're not reading about it, you're not brainstorming it, you're play storming it. The second thing is I talk in the book about the importance of change management. And when I started writing the book, there was nobody that was really talking about the leadership needed around the technology. I had just gone to Davos. This was a couple of years ago, and there was all these sessions about the tech. And you would think Davos is like world economic leaders. They're not talking about the leadership that you need, the EQ. And I'll give you one example. I talked to a company in Southeast Asia. They had these mood jackets. So imagine, you remember the old mood rings where you would put it on
Yeah.
your ear and it would tell what mood you're in? So they created these mood jackets that would sense when you got hot, when you got cold, when you were tired. So it had IoT sensors, but it fed back to AI so they could analyze it as a group. The data
Hmm.
was anonymized, so nobody's personal data was shared. But what they found was that when they rolled out these mood jackets to the manufacturing floor, they found that the managers who talked to their teams and said, "Hey, look, the data is anonymized. This is why we're doing it. We want to know if you're too hot, you're too cold, if you need a bathroom break before your 2 hours, or you're hungry, or you want some music. We're doing it for you, and we're not going to use it for bad." And those groups love the mood jackets. They thought they were great. And then there were the other set of leaders who just gave people the jacket and said, "Wear it." And what do you think those guys did? They revolted. They were like, "I don't wanna wear this jacket, right? I don't want you to know I'm tired. I don't want you to know that I'm less productive than, that Shira is. I don't want all that data." And so, or that you're sweaty, yeah. So the interesting experiment was those who really did the change management, that was actually the secret. It wasn't actually all the time that they spent putting the jacket together, making sure the dashboard was perfect, making sure the data was good. They spent all the time on that and not enough time teaching the leaders how to talk about it with their team. So One of the things I found in the book was I did 485 companies. Those that were most successful with AI projects were those that treated it like a change management project, a business project, not an AI project, a change
Hmm.
management product, not just a technology that you're going to install.
So I want to distill some of the things and just like highlight. I love Playstorm. Great job and that word. When you have books or talks, people are always so good at like you, Sandy, at like creating those
Yeah.
metaphors. Like, it takes a certain type of person, like Playstorm. Yes, I get it. What a fun word. And so I do love the idea of like that you need to get in and play with things and immerse. Like for me, being in these new spaces, a lot of times I'm learning through creating content like this, but also just throwing myself in and playing around with the tools or meeting people and talking and asking questions. There's no dumb question, right? And just knowing I am going to be early and humble myself. And I love the idea of change management, but that, really reiterating to your team, that one, AI tools can help them, but if you're using it to, track things to make things more efficient or support the workforce, that they don't feel like it means like you're tracking them and policing them, which is going to be huge right now. And that to create some sort of trust and transparency that it is anonymous, right? And that it only can help, right? And is there a bit of a gamification to that? If that's what you were, saying, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think, the interesting thing was we found 4 things that were common amongst all successful projects. One was that they treated it as a business project, not an AI, not a tech project. 2, and probably the most strong, was that they treated it with change management. And so they took care of the teams and the people, Shira, just like you chatted about. 3, they had the right data. So I know data is not as sexy as AI. We don't have like data download. We have AI download, but it's really the data that you're working with that's going to make the difference in a success or the failure of a project, right? If you start something, even if it's a great idea, if you don't have the data to back it up, you're going to have a problem as you move forward without that really, really strong data. And then the fourth thing that we found that was just, really crucial was that there was enablement of the team. Like there was something that helped everybody, not just certain people. Another study that I saw said that most CEOs, when they initially started with AI training, they just selected certain people to go through. But the most
Mhm.
successful companies train their entire organization. It's a big thing to take on depending upon your size, but it is crucial, that you do that. And I
So,
think those things
yeah.
are so simple
Hmm.
that, we forget them because we get our eyes dazzled with AI, right?
Yeah, and bogged down. Well, so you mentioned what works for those big companies, Fortune 500. Let's talk about the small ones, right? And the individuals. There could be people listening to this or watching this that they have a small business or they just work alone. They're a creator or creative, right? What advice do you have for them?
Well, it's really cool because I recently moved here due to a family situation. And so when I got here, I was used to Silicon Valley and I'd go to startup competitions and tech stuff all the time. And I got here and there really isn't that. So I joined the Small Business Association. And so I went to these meetings and there are, vets in the meetings and florists in the meetings and dry cleaners in the meetings. And so I would start talking about AI. And so I got invited to speak at the Arizona State Florist Association meeting and the Veterinarians of Scottsdale Association and all of these different things. And so in the book, I try to use a lot of big company, medium company, and small company examples. And, not only working with the vets and the florists and the dry cleaners, but even my own company. We're a startup, we are a unicorn, but we use AI to punch above our weight class. For example, we use AI right now in customer support. We are now answering 30% of our questions from customers with an AI agent. And I think that's pretty cool. By the way, once we did that, our customer sat numbers have gone up and up. So it's really cool to see. We're using it for PR, we're using it for marketing, we're using it in all these different areas. And so in the book, I tried really hard not only to give big companies, medium companies, but small company examples and to go across functions. So I try to go across, okay, if you're a marketeer, if you're a seller, if you're a creator, if you're, leading an organization as CEO or CIO. So I try to cover as much as I could.
So, I guess what kind of mindset shift needs to happen? We say human always. As individuals, what mindset do we need to have right now going into this next chapter of tech, of the world?
I think we need to be, not just say that we're AI first and human always. I think we need to adopt it as well. So, for example, I know Shara was telling you that my book, as you said, I had to have pins down over a year ago. So much has changed since then, right? I mean, I wrote about AI agents, but OpenAI operator didn't exist back then. And so I decided, well, I'm telling everybody to be AI first. I should have an agent with my book. So anybody who buys my book now gets an AI agent that I created. Again, I play Storm. I played with 17 different AI agent platforms to create it. Still not perfect, but it's learning every single day. It's actually tweeting for me too a little bit right now.
Oh,
Um,
I need
and so
that.
yeah, and so it's pretty cool that now you can have a book that's almost constantly refreshed. And so, AI first, right? Thinking about an agent, but I have to get in there and start looking at the data. So I'll give you an example. My bot started tweeting. Somebody asked it, I don't know why, but somebody asked it about a Ferrari. And so my little AI agent was really interested and asked questions. And so this person's really into cars. And so they started educating my little AI agent about cars. For 2 days straight, my AI agent was like, "Hey, do you like the Lamborghini or do you like the Ferrari? Hey, what do you think about this?" And I had to go back in and say, "Okay, you are not an AI agent for cars. You are an AI agent for my AI first book. So let's stay focused on AI first." So that's where the human comes in, right? Because even the AI agent can get distracted by what it's doing.
Yep.
And so
It
I
reminds me, yeah, what?
Go ahead.
No, it reminds me of when I turned on the for Instagram. They have, if you've heard about this, the AI for all the big Instagrammers, right? And you could have AI in your chat answering for you, right? And DMing people on your behalf. I had to turn it off because it was just got it was getting cheesy and weird. And it just didn't represent me. And then it was continuing conversations. I'm like, what are we even talking about? And some of these people I actually knew. And they're like, we know this isn't you, Shira. This is just weird.
Yeah, it's just weird is right, right? Yeah, for sure. But that's why, so anyway, I would love for people to buy the book. If you buy the book, you get the agent. Obviously with copyrights, I can't give the agent out without purchasing the book.
Of course. I love it. Yeah.
Wiley. But if you do grab the book, then there's a way that you can get the agent too. And I'd love for everybody to try it. That's how it gets better and better and better.
Okay. So get the book. You know, I would say, as I mentioned, the mindset you need to have is a growth curiosity mindset. Trying things out even though you're not the best at it. Staying humble, right? I mean, these are attitudes and skills, human skills we need to have as we enter this new era. So we could stay ahead of this and being open to learning, right? And of course, part of that is buying Sandy's book, right? Listening to this podcast. So we appreciate you playing around even if you don't get it right.
Yep.
Don't be hard on yourself. So,
And
Sandy,
also think
you know
big,
what? Yeah, think
because like
big. Oh, I love
you
that,
have
Nadia.
you have the opportunity now, like I said, to code or to create art. You can do anything with AI. So you can now start thinking about steering the ship instead of being the one taking care of the engine, taking care of, all of the small little pieces that you don't necessarily have the expertise for. AI can fill that in.
So, again, we'll have all of the links in the show notes in the description to buy the book and get the agent. Try it out. If you haven't played with an agent before, what a great time to try it out. And before we wrap, we like to just highlight tools that we are keeping our eye on or tools that we are using every show at the end of the show. So, my one that I want to share today is Opus. You can go to opus.pro. And I'm actually working with them on a bunch of stuff. So, shout out to them. They didn't pay for this, but they are cool people. They actually have humans behind them. And it's basically a quick way to cut down long podcasts and panels, videos, just any sort of long video. If you want a quick way to cut them down to social clips, and even you could add in search. So if you did a speaking engagement and you just wanted to find the times you said AI, you could do that with Opus. So that is my tool to check out. Nadia, and then I want to go to you, Sandy, a tool that you're using or you want people to check out. So Nadia.
Well, I just spent the whole weekend coding this multimodal pipeline where you take a transcript and then AI creates B-roll video inspired by that transcript. So that's really cool. But I'm also going to take a moment to say, because I work in AI and I play in AI, that we should all touch grass or art supplies. And remember
Yes.
to just get your hands dirty with human stuff every once in a while, too.
Yeah, that helps us with our tech. Actually, I shared something I saw it on Instagram of an app that won't let you continue, kind of like the phone jails or whatever, that won't let you continue being on your phone if unless you take a picture or video. Well, I think it's a video of you touching grass. So it's a touch grass app.
Fascinating.
How
That's
funny is that?
cool. I
I
like
loved it.
it. So one of my favorite new ones is AI Explain. And it is created by a fellow AWSer. I used to work for Amazon. And what I recently did with it, it's like an agent platform. And what I recently did with it is, I don't know about you guys, but I get so many people calling me on WhatsApp and they'll say, hey, Sandy, can you meet next Tuesday? Hey, Sandy, can you do this? Hey, Sandy, can you review my presentation? I even have my girlfriends calling me going, hey, Sandy, can you go shopping on Saturday at 1? And so what I did was I created an AI agent to listen to all my messages on WhatsApp, create a calendar invite for me, review it with me to make sure I want to meet with that person, and then book the meeting. And it has saved me tons of time. So that's my new favorite platform. The tool under AI Explain is called Belisar. So you can use that tool. You can use it for free. You get a certain number of credits for free. And, it was very cool to do that. Plus time saving, excellent.
Oh, that is awesome. I'm sorry that you get so many spam calls. Who calls on WhatsApp without giving you permission? Come on. Get
I
with it.
got
Read the room.
a ton of calls.
Oh my God. I would just, unless you're a friend,
Mhm.
but no, other than that.
I'm so
Sandy,
grateful nobody calls me and I have no friends. Truly, I'm so grateful.
Nadia is the caller ID person. I haven't met someone in years that does the caller ID. I don't know if now I know it's Nadia. She's the only person that does caller ID, like doesn't show her number when she calls me.
Yeah, because then
Oh,
if they know my number, they could call me
I
back.
know. Well, yeah,
It's problematic.
exactly.
yeah,
This
you
way,
don't want
it's
any
like,
friends. So you don't want any friends, so you don't have your
no,
number
no, no
available.
friends, no calls, no, no. I'm fine. Me and the cats, baby.
Yeah, we're
Me
her
and the
one
cats.
interaction all week. So
Yeah,
this is a
you
special
are. You
moment.
are.
Andy Carter, thank you for being here. AI First Human Always on Amazon right now or wherever you can get your books, I'm sure. Wiley, link in the description and show notes, as I mentioned. Anything else you want to promote while you're here?
Mm-mm. Just don't wait. Try it now. I mean, if you learn anything from the podcast, pick out a tool and try it now.
Yep. And of course, you could follow her on social media too. She always shares great stuff. And of course, a big thank you to Hivelighter for sponsoring our series. If you want to dive deeper, check out the AI Download Collection, where we've curated the top headlines from today's episode. Click the Hivelighter link in our show notes to get smarter. Thank you to Nadia G for being my producer, co host here, sidekick, whatever you like to call it.
Weirdo.
Weirdo. Yeah. Local weirdo. Uh, and thank you to Muso Media for producing and editing the series too. Check them out at musomedia.com. It does take a village to do this. And some AI as well, because we mix the human and the AI, just like the theme of the show. If you love this episode, subscribe, rate, and share. It helps me keep growing the show independently. And we've got a lot more coming your way. So see you next time on the AI Download.